Greetings builders, Daniel here and welcome to the part 2 of my 12 league starter builds for the Affliction League. If you missed part 1, don't worry, you can find it linked together with the PoE and complete guides for all those builds in the video description. Let's start this video with a classic and super strong minion build, the Summon Raging Spirit's Guardian with the Templar class. As you know, minion builds are among the best builds out there, and this one in my opinion has the best cost benefit. It's a very simple and safe build for you to complete all content without much investment or effort, awesome for beginners. To list the pros of this build, I would start with how accessible it is. It is super cheap, simple, easy to play, and doesn't need any mandatory unique item. This build is for everyone. It also counts with a great boss damage and survivability. Above all, it has 3 damage auras totally for free and a minion that takes 20% of the damage for you. Now to list the cons, I'll start saying that Raging Spirits have a short duration and you need to keep resummoning them while clearing maps, which might reduce your speed a little. Other than that, this build also doesn't have access to evasion or reach. As for budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 60 chaos. To comfortable advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 100 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines, or you can totally do it with less. Don't forget that on PoEbuilds.net you can find a list with all the equipment that you need to buy for this build, with direct links for examples being sold by other players. For clear speed, this build gets 8 out of 10. This is because you have to keep resummoning your Raging Spirits, but as you can see, even though this clear speed isn't super fast, it's perfectly fine for you to play and have a good time. The boss damage is great, it's a 9 out of 10. If you apply all the buffs and maintain 20 spirit summoning, you will easily reach over 15 million DPS, more than enough to decimate all endgame bosses in seconds. For this survivability, I'll give it 10 out of 10. This is because we are talking about a minion build where you just need to summon them and wait behind while they destroy and tank everything for you. You just need to mind your position. But with this build, even if they manage to reach you, you still have high armor and block chance, resulting in an effective HP of over 140,000. Next, we have an explosive build that achieves huge amount of single target damage with low investment, the Hexblast Mines Saboteur with the Shadow class. Hexblast is a very interesting skill that deals a lot of extra damage if the enemy it hits is already cursed. Besides that, it also creates a big pulse of damage that destroys all nearby monsters. That's why it's important that our enemies are always cursed. To list the pros of this build, I would start with how powerful it gets with low investment. With cheap and easy to find items, we're going to make bosses disappear with your mind chain reactions. Part of that is because Hexblast can naturally shock, freeze and ignite enemies, and if that wasn't good enough, it also considers the lowest resistance the enemy has before calculating the damage. This build is also very fast and deals a lot of area damage. It's super satisfying to clear maps this way. Above all, you can throw your mines from a long distance and stay far from danger. Now to list the cons, I'll start saying that mine gameplay isn't for everyone. Some players just can't get used to the detonation mechanic, but trust me, it's worth giving a try because mine builds have huge potential. Another issue is that this character is not very tanky. Because of that, you need to always mind your position or you might die. As for budget, this build is cheap. You can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 70 chaos. To comfortable advance to yellow maps, I recommend investing around 150 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines. You only need one mandatory unique item for this build, the Profane Proxy Ring that causes one of your Skitter bots to have a curse aura. This way, the enemies you hit with your Hexblast are always going to trigger the big area damage, increasing a lot your clear speed. For clear speed, I'll give this build 9 out of 10. You are very fast and your mines explode in a big area, killing many monsters at once. It's very comfortable to clear maps with this character. The boss damage is also amazing and deserves 9 out of 10. You can stack many mines and delete bosses with a huge detonation. This build has an incredible single target potential, even on a low budget. For the survivability, I'll give it 8 out of 10. Even though you have armor, evasion, spell suppression and can throw your mines from a big distance, this build is still not very tanky and needs to stay still from time to time to deploy the mines. That's why I took 2 points out. Finally, we have a starter build that has a lot of fans out there because it comes with a natural mate plot, the Toxic Rain Pathfinder with the Ranger class. This build uses the Permafrost and Chaos damage of Pathfinder to deploy many powerful pods that drain the life out of your enemies. To list the pros of this build, I would start with how easy it is to put together. You don't need any mandatory unique item and the leveling is very simple. Another great feature of this build is that your flasks are going to stay up all the time, even on boss fights, and the life regeneration from your life flask will be eternal, making the damage over time look like a joke to you. This build is great for beginners because you end up having great clear, boss damage and survivability with low investment. Now to list the cons, the main issue of this build is mana. Since we are dealing with a damage over time build, we cannot reach mana or life. Because of that issue, we need rare rings that reduce the mana cost of skills. As for budget, you can get it destroying early in game maps with only around 100 chaos. To comfortable advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 150 chaos, and for easily completing our atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines, where you can totally do it with less. For clear speed, this build gets 9 out of 10. As a Pathfinder, your Quicksilver and Silver flasks are going to have more effect and be up 100% of the time, granting a lot of attack and movement speed. Also, you only need to deploy the pods once and they will drain surrounding enemies, granting a smooth gameplay. The boss damage also gets 9 out of 10. Combining your strength with Toxic Rain totems, bosses just drawing countless pods. Even the big bosses are going to melt like butter before your eyes. For this survivability, I'll give it 9 out of 10. This is because this build has high evasion, high armor and spell suppression. Also, your defensive flasks have more effect and are up all the time, even on bosses. Above all, you can use Toxic Rain from a safe distance and its spots heavily slow down enemies. And that's it for today, guys. Are you enjoying those starter builds? Don't forget that many more are coming every single day this week. I wish you all an amazing day and don't forget to keep building!